in Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. The book opens with an introduction that sets the stage for the profound insights to come. Brown introduces the concept of daring greatly and highlights the transformative power of vulnerability. She shares her personal experiences and adventures in the arena, which serve as a backdrop for the book's exploration of embracing vulnerability as a source of strength. Brown explains that daring greatly is not about achieving perfection or avoiding failure, but rather about having the courage to show up and be seen, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. She emphasizes the importance of vulnerability as the pathway to meaningful connections and authentic living. Through her own anecdotes and encounters with individuals from diverse backgrounds, Brown reveals how vulnerability is often misunderstood and equated with weakness. She challenges this misconception by presenting vulnerability as a source of courage and resilience. By embracing vulnerability, we can cultivate empathy, creativity, and wholeheartedness. The introduction also highlights the societal barriers that hinder our willingness to be vulnerable. Brown explores the fear of judgment, shame, and the pressure to conform to unrealistic expectations. She invites readers to question these limiting beliefs and offers practical strategies to cultivate self-compassion and embrace vulnerability as a strength rather than a liability. As the introduction comes to a close, Brown leaves us with a powerful message. The willingness to be vulnerable is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to our courage and authenticity. She sets the stage for the transformative journey that lies ahead, promising insights that will challenge our preconceptions, inspire self-reflection, and empower us to live wholeheartedly. Chapter 1: Scarcity, Looking Inside, Our Culture of Never Enough. In the opening chapter, she tackles the pervasive culture of scarcity that permeates our lives. Brown explores the notion of never enough and its detrimental impact on our sense of self-worth and connection. She challenges the belief that our worthiness is tied to external achievements and possessions, shedding light on the profound consequences of living in a perpetual state of scarcity. Through insightful research and personal anecdotes, Brown reveals the various ways scarcity manifests itself in our lives. From constantly striving for perfection to comparing ourselves to others, the chapter dissects the roots of scarcity and its influence on our relationships, creativity, and overall well-being. Brown introduces the concept of shame-based scarcity and highlights the role of shame in perpetuating the never-enough mentality. She encourages readers to examine their own scarcity narratives and invites them to cultivate a mindset of sufficiency and self-compassion. As the chapter concludes, Brown leaves us with a powerful message: embracing vulnerability is the antidote to scarcity. By acknowledging our fears and insecurities, we can cultivate a sense of worthiness and foster authentic connections. The chapter sets the foundation for the transformative journey ahead, challenging us to confront our scarcity mindset and embrace the courage to dare greatly. Chapter 2: Debunking the Vulnerability Myths. In Chapter 2, she dispels common misconceptions surrounding vulnerability. Brown explores the vulnerability myths that prevent us from fully embracing our authenticity and connecting with others in a meaningful way. Through engaging storytelling and research-based insights, Brown debunks the belief that vulnerability is synonymous with weakness. She highlights vulnerability as an essential component of courage and resilience, challenging readers to reframe their understanding of vulnerability as a source of strength. The chapter delves into the myth of vulnerability as oversharing and emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries and practicing discernment when sharing our vulnerabilities. Brown provides practical guidance on navigating vulnerability in different contexts, whether it be in personal relationships or professional settings. Furthermore, Brown addresses the myth that vulnerability is reserved for a select few who are naturally predisposed to it. She emphasizes that vulnerability is a universal experience and that everyone has the capacity to embrace it. By debunking this myth, she encourages readers to lean into vulnerability and discover its transformative power in their own lives. As the chapter concludes, Brown leaves us with a valuable takeaway. Vulnerability is not a weakness to be avoided, but a strength to be embraced. By challenging the vulnerability myths that hold us back, we can cultivate authentic connections, foster resilience, and live wholeheartedly. Chapter 3: Understanding and Combating Shame. In Chapter 3, she dives deep into the topic of shame, its corrosive effects, and strategies to combat its grip on our lives. Brown unveils the pervasive nature of shame and its power to diminish our sense of worthiness and connection. Through personal stories and extensive research, Brown sheds light on the insidious ways shame operates in our lives. She explores the difference between shame and guilt, emphasizing that guilt is rooted in behavior while shame attacks our sense of self. By understanding the distinction, readers can start unraveling shame's hold on their lives. The chapter highlights the importance of recognizing shame triggers and developing resilience in the face of shame. Brown introduces the concept of shame resilience and provides practical tools to navigate shame, including self-compassion, empathy, and reaching out to trusted individuals who can provide support. Furthermore, Brown delves into the societal and cultural factors that perpetuate shame, particularly in relation to gender, appearance, and success. She challenges readers to question these external standards and cultivate a sense of worthiness based on internal values rather than external validation. As the chapter concludes, Brown reminds us that shame loses power when we bring it into the light and share our experiences with trusted individuals who respond with empathy. By understanding and combating shame, we can reclaim our sense of worthiness, foster genuine connections, and cultivate a life of authenticity. Chapter 4: The Vulnerability Armory. Chapter 4 explores the various strategies we employ to protect ourselves from vulnerability, and the ways in which these vulnerability armory actually hinder our growth, connection, and wholehearted living. Brown identifies and unpacks several common defense mechanisms we use to shield ourselves from vulnerability. From numbing our emotions with substances or excessive busyness to engaging in perfectionism and cynicism, she exposes the ways in which these behaviors act as barriers to authentic connection and limit our capacity for joy and fulfillment. Through vivid storytelling and research-based insights, Brown invites readers to examine their own vulnerability armory and the impact it has on their lives. She emphasizes that while these defense mechanisms may provide temporary relief, they ultimately prevent us from fully engaging with ourselves and others. The chapter encourages readers to cultivate self-awareness and recognize the patterns of armor they have adopted. By acknowledging these behaviors and their underlying fears, individuals can begin to dismantle their vulnerability armory and open themselves up to the transformative power of vulnerability. As the chapter comes to a close, Brown reminds us that embracing vulnerability is not about taking reckless risks, but rather about making conscious choices and being intentional in our actions. By letting go of our vulnerability armory, we create space for genuine connection, personal growth, and wholehearted living. Chapter 5: Mind the Gap: Cultivating Change and Closing the Disengagement Divide. Chapter 5 focuses on bridging the gap between our aspirational values and our behaviors, highlighting the importance of cultivating meaningful change and closing the disengagement divide in our personal and professional lives. Brown addresses the challenges we face in aligning our actions with our values, exploring the reasons behind this disconnection and offering insights on how to overcome it. She emphasizes the significance of self-reflection, vulnerability, and accountability in the process of cultivating change. The chapter introduces the concept of the disengagement divide and its impact on our overall well-being and sense of fulfillment. Brown explores the factors that contribute to disengagement, such as fear, shame, and the pressure to conform to societal expectations. She encourages readers to challenge these barriers and embrace vulnerability as a means to bridge the gap and live in alignment with their values. Through engaging anecdotes and practical strategies, Brown guides readers in the process of cultivating change. She emphasizes the importance of self-compassion, setting realistic goals, and embracing a growth mindset. By fostering self-awareness and taking small, intentional steps, individuals can bridge the disengagement divide and create a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life. As the chapter concludes, Brown reminds us that change is not an overnight process, but a journey of continuous growth and self-discovery. By mindfully minding the gap between our values and actions, we can create meaningful change, foster authentic connections, and live a life of wholeheartedness. Chapter 6: Disruptive Engagement: Daring to Rehumanize Education and Work. Chapter 6 challenges the prevailing systems of education and work, inviting readers to dare greatly by embracing vulnerability and rehumanizing these spheres of our lives. Brown shines a light on the dehumanizing aspects of education and work, exploring the culture of comparison, scarcity, and fear that often prevails in these domains. She shares research-based insights and personal stories that highlight the profound impact of vulnerability and wholeheartedness in fostering engagement, creativity, and innovation. The chapter calls for a shift in perspective, urging educators, leaders, and individuals to cultivate environments that prioritize empathy, trust, and authenticity. Brown offers practical strategies to foster connection, encourage creativity, and embrace vulnerability in educational and work settings. By daring to disrupt the status quo and challenge the dominant culture of shame and fear, individuals can create spaces where learning and growth flourish. Brown emphasizes the power of vulnerability in building meaningful relationships, fostering collaboration, and unlocking our innate potential. As the chapter comes to a close, Brown reminds us that rehumanizing education and work is not just about improving performance or productivity. It is about creating spaces where individuals can bring their whole selves, feel seen and valued, and contribute to the greater good. By embracing vulnerability and wholeheartedness, we can transform these spheres of our lives and create a more compassionate and thriving society. Before we continue, we would like to inform you that we release these summaries in audio format on Spotify before we release them on YouTube in video format with subtitles. Thank you for the support, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Chapter 7: Wholehearted Parenting, Daring to be the Adults We Want Our Children to Be. In Chapter 7, she explores the transformative power of wholehearted parenting and the profound influence it has on shaping our children's lives. Brown highlights the challenges parents face in a society driven by comparison, perfectionism, and unrealistic expectations. She invites readers to examine their own parenting approaches and dares them to be the adults they want their children to be. The chapter emphasizes the importance of vulnerability and authenticity in the parent-child relationship. Brown shares personal anecdotes and research findings that underscore the significance of modeling vulnerability and embracing imperfection as parents. By creating an environment of empathy, understanding, and acceptance, parents can foster resilience and authentic connections with their children. Furthermore, Brown offers practical strategies for wholehearted parenting, including setting boundaries, practicing self-compassion, and engaging in open and honest conversations. She encourages parents to let go of the pressure to be perfect and instead focus on cultivating vulnerability, empathy, and growth mindset within themselves and their children. As the chapter concludes, Brown reminds us that wholehearted parenting is not about achieving perfection but about showing up, being present, and embracing vulnerability. By daring to be the adults we want our children to be, we create a nurturing foundation for them to navigate the world with courage, authenticity, and wholeheartedness. Final thoughts. In this chapter, Brown offers concluding reflections and a powerful call to action. Brown emphasizes that embracing vulnerability and daring greatly is an ongoing journey that requires commitment and courage. She encourages readers to challenge the societal narratives of scarcity, shame, and disconnection and instead cultivate wholeheartedness, authenticity, and compassion. By embracing vulnerability, individuals can create meaningful connections, experience joy, and live with a deep sense of purpose. Brown leaves readers with the reminder that daring greatly is not about achieving perfection or avoiding failure, but about having the courage to show up, be seen, and live wholeheartedly. She urges us to step into the arena of our lives, embrace vulnerability, and dare greatly in pursuit of a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. In her final thoughts, Brown empowers readers to embrace their imperfections, cultivate resilience, and write their own stories of courage and authenticity. With her profound insights and practical guidance, she leaves us inspired to embark on our own daring journey and make a lasting impact in the world. Appendix: Trust and Emergence. In the appendix of Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, she explores the concept of trust and emergence. Brown dives deeper into the importance of embracing uncertainty, navigating vulnerability, and trusting the process of personal and collective growth. She encourages readers to let go of the need for certainty and control and instead embrace the transformative power of vulnerability and trust. By leaning into the unknown and allowing ourselves to be open to new possibilities, we can cultivate resilience, creativity, and wholehearted living. The appendix serves as a reminder that growth and change often arise from moments of discomfort and uncertainty. Brown invites readers to trust in the emergence of their own journeys and have faith in their capacity to navigate challenges and embrace vulnerability as a source of strength. As the book concludes, the appendix offers a powerful reminder that trusting in emergence is not a passive act but an active choice to surrender to the unfolding of our lives with courage, resilience, and wholeheartedness.